Anirban Bhattacharya is a TV producer, best-selling author, actor, and stand-up comedian. With over 25 years of experience in the media, he has worked with channels including Star Media, Walt Disney India, Channel V India. He is the creator, producer, and writer of the hit true crime TV show Savdhaan India. He is also the producer of Crime Patrol. His debut true crime book, The Deadly Dozen, India's Most Notorious Serial Killers, was the number one bestseller on Amazon. Published in 2019, his investigation into the Nithari case stated that the Patel and Kohli were innocent, and the police investigation was a botch-up, which has now been validated with the recent judgment and acquittal of Pandher and Kohli by the Allahabad bench. He is also the author of best-selling India's Money Heist, the Chelembra Bank Robbery, which was launched by superstar Mohanlal, and The Hills Are Burning, a memoir debuted at number one on Amazon India, Amazon US, and Australia in Indian writing category. He is a stand-up comedian and an actor, having acted in movies like Sui Dhaga, Opium, The Broken News, and Mission Mangal. So that's quite a mouthful and so many hats, and each hat seems to have so many feathers in them. So welcome, Anirban. Thank you for making time for us today. And
Thank you so much for having me.
so the first question that I'm going to ask you is that, you're a multi-genre author, screenwriter, TV producer, columnist, stand-up comedian, and an actor. I don't even have enough fingers to count them on right now. So how do you make time for all of your passions? And if you could choose only one of those hats to wear for rest of your life, which would you choose?
Um, as for time, I think it one has to make time. Usually our excuse is that all our passion projects get sort of left behind. And I'm talking about a lot of people who I know love to write, but their fallback excuses, अरे यार time ही नहीं मिलता, office का काम है, or you know. And that goes for men and women. Both of them say, "Oh, office का काम है." Or there are homemakers who say, "अरे बच्चे को देखभाल करूँ या घर का काम करूँ, तब तो time ही निकल जाते हैं." And all of that. The thing is, we are like taxis. Our life is like a taxi. From the time we are born, no, the meter is down, and then there is no going back. Right? वो मीटर चलता रहेगा अभी. कब रुकेगा वो भी पता नहीं है. That is also another fun part. कब रुक जाएगा. So then to utilize the amount of time that we have, the limited amount of time that we have, one has to make time, to do things that one likes and loves. You're working, yes, to earn money and all of that. I get that, but what are you doing for your soul? So that is important. So one has to make time, and why choose one? Again, I mean the same philosophy. एक ही जिंदगी है, करो जो करना है और सब कुछ करो. अगर कोई मुझे कहता है कि भाई तुम ये कर सकते हो क्या, मैं बोल देता हूँ हाँ, सीख लूंगा. But first accept it. Don't miss the opportunity to have a new experience in life. Right? जैसे मैं stand up करने लगा था 2011 में, ऐसे ही on a lark. कॉमेडी स्टोर का ओपन माइक अनाउंस हुआ. मेरे दोस्तों ने कहा यूजुअल जो होता है, यार तू तो बहुत फनी है, तू क्यों नहीं करता. So then I wrote a set which is about 8 minutes long, and I went and performed. I won. I was India's first open mic winner
Wow.
at the comedy store. So one has to do it. One has to jump into the water to know whether it's cold or hot, and whether one can swim in it or not. So yeah, do
Um,
everything possible.
But still, is there one thing that you prefer more over the
No,
others? You love them all equally?
yeah. It depends. One goes through phases in life. Like now, I don't have the time to do stand up because I'm writing a lot. So that stand up has taken a backseat. Maybe in another 2 years' time, then again I'll come back. So it depends on the ebbs and the troughs of life and
Mm-hmm.
the situation one is in.
Mm-hmm.
I love writing for sure. I love acting. I love producing. So if you see the commonality is telling
Creative.
stories. Yeah, it's telling stories. As an actor, I tell the story through my role. By writing, I tell the story. Through producing, I present a story. So it's about being creative and telling stories. I think that's at the end of the day. Even stand up, right? When you're doing a stand up, you're actually telling a story.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think telling stories is what I enjoy doing.
Okay, so there's this debate always going on within our industry that books are always better than the movie or the TV series. But
Mhm,
you are an author, you are a TV producer, and you are also a consumer of both, because I know you love to read also.
mhm.
So I definitely need to know your take on it.
It's like the chicken and the egg, right? This is a debate that will never end. I mean, for one book that is badly adapted onto the screen, then the debate continues further. But there are amazing adaptations of books onto screen. Dr. Zhivago, The Godfather. Um, you talk about Lord of the Rings, the Harry Potter series, um, Gone Girl. So they're amazing adaptations as well. I mean, uh, हर चीज में होता है, बुरा भी होता है और अच्छा भी होता है. Uh, Again, depends on the thing is when one reads a book, one creates the movie within one's own head, right? अगर आप ही एक लाइन पढ़ो कि the white horse galloped through the snow. Now, what is your visual? Though the line is simple, it's about a horse galloping through the snow. So there's snow and there's a horse, right? These two elements are there. But when you're reading it, you put your own camera on and your own script writing. When I read the line, I will see mountains in the back. It's not written in the line, but I see mountains behind the horse in
Mm-hmm.
soft focus, or I see forests on both sides of the road, and there's a snow. So everybody's interpretation is different. Your white horse is different from my white horse. Your white horse is white. Mera white horse has one black, uh, scar down its front. So when one reads a book, one makes the movie within one's own head, and that is incomparable,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so one goes to the screen expecting that same amount of magic to come through. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. I mean, look at Godfather. Um, or look at, I mean, I love the way the Harry Potter series was adapted. It tried to, I mean, these are huge books and they're
Yeah.
lovely elements and layers, but they got it right. Um, even the movies that Ray made based on books. I mean, Potter Pachali and all of that. I mean, they're classics.
Mm.
And of course, there are bad ones as well. But yeah, so the debate will go on depending on what you have read. And Game of Thrones. I mean, look at it, right? So Game of Thrones, prime example, brilliantly adapted, right? And then comes season what, 8? Was it season 8 the last, or was it season
Yeah.
5?
Season 8 was the
Season
last.
8, which wasn't written by George R. R. Martin, right? It wasn't written,
Yeah.
but they had to conclude. So the script writers wrote their assumptive version of what they thought, it became potty. That last episode was potty. You know, I couldn't believe what was happening. It reminded me of some 80s Bollywood film, you know. And that, yeah, Shatranj ke Khiladi, kind of
Sorry.
junoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sadgati is another one. So anyway, yeah, so it depends again. It's an endless debate.
So it seems you have nicely stepped around the question and without committing to
You
an
know, the thing
answer.
is,
But
Lord of the Rings. When I read Lord of the Rings,
yeah.
I've read it I think about 4 times.
Mhm.
When I read it for the first time, it just blew me away with the scale of it. You know, the scale and the Middle Earth and the characters and the layering. And I heard Peter Jackson was making a movie. I said, "Arey yaar, kaise hoga? Yaar, bakwas hoga." But when I saw it on the screen, those battle scenes with the orcs, or just the characters and the casting and the Middle Earth built and the Hobbiton, it just justified everything. You know, it just phew, brilliant.
Okay, so we'll come back to your writing now. And as an author, you have written true crime, you have written poetry, you have written a children's book, and you have written content for visual media as well. So does shifting genres or medium take you a minute to adjust when you're writing? And which one comes easiest to you?
So a lot of the time, people ask me, why do I write in multiple genres? And it's a uh, very few people write in multiple genres,
Yes.
and it's easy to market an author who sticks to a single genre,
Yes.
right? Like he writes spy thrillers, or he writes horror,
Mhm.
or he writes rom-com, or so it becomes, or mythological. So it becomes easy to slot a an author. Also, it helps in marketing.
Mhm.
Then you can say, Dev Datta, the number one author of mythology. Now, for me, what will they say? Writer of children's book, horror book, this book. So it becomes a little difficult, right? Um, but as I like telling stories, I decide what I want to say, and if the story wants to come out, it wants to come out.
Mhm.
With adjusting, um, yes, there is a bit of adjusting when one is writing. One has to be very true to the genre and to the craft. When one is writing a children's book, it's a very different hat you put on. Um, in fact, when I write true crime, my own body language is
Okay.
very different to when I write children's book. My entire I physically manifest the genre within me, and it sounds all ori baba, what intellectual, but it is not. Uh, because when one is hard and also and he put the fucking knife into him, and that's what I write the true crime. But when I'm writing the kids' book, I have to have fun,
Mhm.
right? I have to have fun with the dialogue, with the interaction, with the naughtiness, with the mischief, and all of that. So immediately, one sort of softens up. Um, and anybody can write multi-genre if one is true to the craft and the genre. Each genre has to be written in a specific way.
Mhm.
But again, there's no hard or fast rule on how to write. It's your voice at the end of the day.
It's
Um,
interesting. This is the first time I've heard somebody say that, your body language even changes when you're writing.
yeah, and I've noticed that. I've noticed that. Like especially, like last night, I was writing a scene in the book, which is my next true crime book. I was writing, and that's when the killers are disposing of the body. Right, my entire fingers became stiff because I was like rapidly typing, rapidly typing about the body being stuffed into the suitcase and this and that. They were trying to fit that body into the suitcase, and because rigor mortis had formed in, they had to like really force it in, and my entire body language changed during that, and it's exhausting because for me, when I wrote the Deadly Dozen, which is this book,
Yeah.
it is about 12 serial killers. I went into their heads. So for every story that I wrote, I sat with them inside my head for 2 weeks, because I had to think like them, I had to talk like them, I had to assume what their body language was at that point of time. When Otto Shankar has mounted this woman and asks her, "Why did you escape?" and she says, just to taunt him, that he's a better lover than you, the entire body language of Otto Shankar has to then come through the language, because he pounces on her, tells the assistant to hold her legs down as he throttles her. So I had to think like them, and it was sickening after a point of time. I mean, I was violently, physically sick as well, writing it. But that's how I write. I mean, everybody has their own method, but I'm an empath, so I internalize things very deeply. And
Priya
that's
says
how.
the deadly doesn't give me chills for days after I finish the book.
Yeah,
I
hi
think
Priya. I know she mentioned it to me, and she said she was having nightmares. I had one reader message me from Kuala Lumpur, and she was a single girl working there, Indian girl, and she said, because of you now, I don't let the dog sleep in the other room. I make sure the dog is sleeping in my room to guard me. So yeah,
these are compliments that I think you'll keep with you for some
yes,
time.
yes, yes.
So, but interestingly, then your children's book also covers the Gorkhaland issue.
No, it doesn't. The children's book, it's called The Adventurous Six, The
Okay.
Sinister Summer Holiday,
Uh-huh.
and I wrote it when I was in class six.
Mhm.
Um, uh, I was 11 years old. So I wrote it in a handwritten manuscript and all of that, and then that book got published
The
as a.
Hills Are Burning is the one that covers the Gorkhaland issue.
Yes, that's the latest. That's my
Mm.
memoir.
Okay.
So yeah, so Adventurous Six is a tribute to the kind of books that we all read while growing up, which is
Mhm.
Enid Blyton.
Mhm.
So I was very sure at that young age I wanted to be an author. So I knew that Enid Blyton had a famous five and a secret seven. So then I chose the number in between because that was available, right? So it became the Adventurous Six.
So
Um,
you said that you wrote it when you were in class six, right?
yes, yeah,
So, but it got published later on.
much later.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
I'd lost the manuscript, then I found the manuscript.
yeah, so I just wanted to know, like, when you went found the manuscript and you must have had to rework it a little bit.
Oh yes,
How
yes, yes.
was that
The
experience, seeing
the
your class six self?
it was horrible. In the sense, I'm trying to find the manuscript. It's somewhere here. Um, so I realized that because I was in a boarding school in Kalimpong, most of my chapters were about food because I was hungry, and through my characters eating the samosas and the jalebis and the cakes, I was vicariously feeding my own hunger, you know,
Okay.
through writing that, oh, my characters were enjoying the food, and I was dreaming about the samosa and all of that. So I had to like it was a 9,000 word manuscript, which then I had to make it into I think it was about a 45,000 word. So I had to like rewrite almost 80%. I just kept the basic storyline, took it from the skeleton, and then wrote it.
Vaibhav
Everything.
says, note to self, avoid writing when hungry.
Yeah.
uh, but still, you
Yeah.
haven't told us like which format of writing comes easiest to you.
It's again, if one is true to the craft
Mhm.
and one has enough knowledge about it, and then you enjoy writing it. Like my new book, which called The Hills Are Burning,
Mhm.
which is my memoir of growing up in Kalimpong. during the Gorkhaland agitation.
Mhm.
So about three friends in a boarding school. So this is in a fiction narrative, what you call a literary fiction. So I thought, okay, ho nahi payega, but ho gaya. And the second edition of the book is now being, so first edition was sold out within, I think, 2 months. Um, so one has to be true to the crowd. What is the story you're telling,
Mhm.
right? If you're telling the story of a true crime, then your language is different, your approach is different. Whose point of view? Is the criminal point of view? Is it the victim point of view? Or is it a macro point of view? Is it a police procedural? Is it a who done it? Is it a how done it? Is it a catch me if you can? So these are things one sort of answers while approaching the book. I write very organically. Again, not the best way to write. I don't have a structure in mind. A lot of people first pen down the chapters and ye hoga, fir wo hoga, the beat sheet and all of that. I don't do that. Um, I know what I want to write. Like I know, especially true crime, so I know the sequence of events and the things that have happened. But when I sit and write, I just channel, and whatever comes, I write. So it's a very pure experience for me. Again, I might sound pretentious, Bengali, intellectual, all that shit, but it's not. It's a very very spiritual experience, and especially when it flows. Like when I'm writing a book, I'm dreaming about the book. I'm sitting on the potty thinking about the book. I'm living that book, because I'm thinking, अरे इसका स्ट्रक्चर ऐसा होगा तो ठीक है, ये कैरेक्टर को वो करते ये करते अरे वो क्यों नहीं हुआ था, पुलिस ने तो वो बोला था. अच्छा, then I'm joining the, so when I sit and write and some things click, oh, it's beautiful. It just flows like makhan, you know. And it's to do with the powers that be. I have no, I don't believe there's a muse,
Okay.
as in like, oh, a lot of people say, अरे यार जब muse आएगा तब लिखूंगा. Oh, it's all bullshit. Writing is a chore, much like going to the market buying vegetable or sitting at your office desk. It is a chore. You have to approach it as a thing you must do. You cannot be a writer by sitting outside. You can't be a cricketer. A lot of us do that, right? When you're watching cricket and all, Sachin out ho gaya, bole, अरे यार सचिन ने क्या किया, स्क्वायर कट क्यों मारा. You're telling Sachin how to play cricket. And all of us who are sitting inside our houses saying, अरे यार क्या कोहली ने क्या गंदा शॉट मारा, उसको ये करना चाहिए था. So you have to step onto the court to
Mhm.
play. So to be a writer, you have to write
Mhm.
every day. Um, so it becomes easy for me when I really deep dive into the thing process, and I give myself up to it, saying this is it.
So, I'm also wondering because you write in so many genres and in so many formats. Do you think because each format is each genre requires something different from you, right? And so I'm wondering, like having experience in so many aspects of writing, has it overall helped you to improve your style or helped you, get down to business more easily?
Yeah, I mean, see, again, writing is like a chore, as I said. The more you write, the more better you get. The better, and the more you read as well.
Mhm.
I have I try and now avoid reading the genres that I write in.
Okay.
I don't read true crime, specifically true crime. I don't read uh, horror. I don't read because of my new book is what happens is that we are the human being is like a sponge.
Mhm.
Subconsciously we take in things, and I don't want that to happen, especially to my writing style. I want it to be very unique
Mhm.
and my voice, right? Um, So therefore, I read as little as possible, or I read things that are not connected to the genres that I write in. Um, so I read a lot of travel logs. I read biographies. I read um, fiction. Um, yeah, so I do that. I'm trying to keep my own sort of voice. I have my own writing tropes. I've
Okay.
written 5 books. I have sort of figured out. People have told me, readers have told me, said, "Oh, that is such an Anirban trope." I said, "ये तो मत बोला करो यार. It's embarrassing." He's like, "No, no, but you do have a trope." So one of the and so because I write organically,
Mhm.
things just happen, and then when I like read back, then I have a trope of fracturing time. And I like taking my reader on a journey. So I
Mhm.
will take you down a path, holding your hand,
Mhm.
and then I'll say, "Wait, at this point, now let's
Mhm.
go back to 20 years ago." So I'll take you back 20 years ago to one incident that connects to this incident
Okay.
or something. So and I like taking the reader around, on a lovely journey, and then we come back to the point. And I break the fourth wall always. Always. I love talking to my readers, questioning them, airing my own thoughts. Um, so those are kind of writing styles one has developed uh, over the years.
Whether it's your Savdhaan India for TV or your book, The Deadly Dozen, The Money Heist, India's Money Heist, true crime has taken up the major chunk of your career. So is
Mm.
it something that you were always curious about, or is it something that you developed an interest for while working in this line?
Mm. We are always, we are. Priya knows this because Priya's heard this before. Where another talk I've mentioned is the fact that bachpan se hi na we are primed to like crime. Bachpan se.
Mhm.
Okay, so what are the books we've read bachpan se? We've read about Noddy. We've read Famous Five. We've read Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew. All of them are crime. They are crime books at the end of the day,
And the
right?
queen of crime, we
The
cannot forget the queen of crime.
Agatha Christie. Yeah, no, but I'm saying even when we are kids, Noddy.
Yeah, yeah.
What is Noddy about? Noddy's car gets stolen.
Hmm.
That's a bloody crime,
Yeah.
right? Or Noddy's hat goes missing, you know, or those are all crimes. So subconsciously, we are primed to like crime. Hardy Boys, Famous Five, Secret Seven, Nancy Drew, Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot, Sherlock Holmes, uh, all your Bomkesh Bakshi, Feluda, all of that. These are all crime. So बचपन से ही हम लोग crime पढ़ते आ रहे हैं. Because one, it's interesting, it's dynamic, it's thrilling. Who done it? How done it? Um, it has a voyeuristic essence to it as well. बड़े होते हैं तो थोड़ा सा वो adult वाले भी पढ़ लेते. Even like your Sydney Sheldon and all of that, it's crime. There's the murder or even Perry Mason. Um, so we all love crime. So I guess I got into crime very organically in the sense the television channel wanted a crime show. We created the show. We didn't know it was going to be such a big hit. Um, so quite blessed that people now, when I go to rural India and I say Savdhaan, and they've seen the show. Um, and Crime Patrol as well, which I have produced. So yeah, crime came very naturally. Yeah, I remember when my literary agent, which is Bookbakers, Suhail, told me I wanted to actually debut with The Hills Are Burning, but he said, "मत कर, कोई तुझे पहचानता नहीं है. You are a big name in television, or some, I mean, at least people know you in television. People don't know you in the publishing world as an author. So start your career with something that you can leverage on, which is crime. You're known already as being the creator, producer, writer of Savdhaan India. So if you write a true crime book, that carries a lot more weightage. Then people know that you're not bullshitting. You know, you know your stuff. So therefore, then, and I was petrified. I said, "यार सुहेल हमसे नहीं हो पाएगा यार ये research करना पड़ता है बहुत true crime." See, when you're making a show like Savdhaan India, you can add a bit of masala, all of that, because it's inspired from true stories. When you're writing a true crime book, it has to be bloody truthful. You can't add masala, right? So then I went nuts trying to research the book. I mean, Nithari, if you see at the
If you would like, you can just go into more details about that, because my next question was about research.
yeah. So I mean, look at this is at the end. I think there are 16 pages of notes and citations of Deadly Dozen. It's crazy. So when I was doing Nithari, this book came out in 2019, and I had, with my investigation with another journalist called Arpit, we had said that Surinder Kohli and Moninder Singh Pandey are innocent. They are being framed. There is an organ trafficking nexus going on between the police and somebody else, and there was a botch up of the investigation. So people laughed at that point of time. They said, "अरे यार, क्या तू बोल रहा है? ये तो लोगों को खाता है, काटता है, ये करता है, वो करता है. How can you say they are innocent?" So I said, no, no, they are innocent. Um, 3 days or 4 days ago, the Allahabad bench said the exact things that I had said in 2019. In fact, they have not even like uh, sort of shown the tip of the iceberg. What my book and my research has sort of taken out. I mean, for a fact that before Nithari could happen, Nithari happened in December 2006, and in mid 2005, a cut, severed hand was found in D5. The Noida police came, checked it out, and they said this is not a human hand, it's an animal carcass, bury it back. So, which means they already knew of something was happening in that area of human trafficking. D5 is where Pandya is. D6 is where a neighbor stayed who had been picked up previously for organ trade trafficking. He was a doctor and he was let off for the lack of proof. Right? They were I mean, there were 19 or 18 bodies which were recovered. 19 bodies were recovered. All of them didn't have torso. It was only limbs and skull. Where were the torsos? That's where the organs are. And that's harvested. Right? There were 19 skeletons found, out of which 8 of them matched with the missing children of Nithari. What happened to the other 11? Who are they? So these are huge questions that one has to really read and realize what a botch up this has been. I mean, when you look at the video confession of Kohli says, "मुझे बताया गया कि ये पायल है, मुझे बताया गया कि ये रिम्पा है." क्यों बोलेगा वो कि मुझे बताया गया? Because he's been tutored. He goes to the court and he says to the judge that my video confession came under duress. According to the law, if any confession comes under duress, it is inadmissible in court. But his 12 death sentences are given based on that video confession, which is inadmissible in court. So it's crazy. Read the book. I mean, I want people to read the book. The Quint, which is a very reputable site, asked me to write an article day before yesterday, which has gotten published now, about the investigation. So it's quite crazy. वो सिर घूम जाता है अगर आप पढ़ोगे कि निठारी का असलियत क्या है, आपका सिर घूम जाएगा। और यही सेम पुलिस है, नोएडा पुलिस, जिसने तलवार केस बॉचअप किया था।
Okay.
सो द सेम पीपल।
So, coming back to doing research, like you said, ki when you're doing it for your TV show, you can add a little bit of masala, but it's different when you're writing a true crime book. So, how do you like? Do your approach to your research is also different in that case, or how does it happen?
तो मेरा मेरा कुत्ता का नाक है। आई हैव द नोज ऑफ अ डॉग। आई कैन get out any research. uh, and I have my techniques of finding things, and of course luck is there.
Mhm.
When I was writing Deadly Dozen, there's a story of Thug Behram, which is about the Thuggy movement, and I wasn't finding much research on it. And I was searching, and then suddenly I found a book which was written by the person who had captured him, dating back to whatever 1800 something. So these are things that happens, in with luck. But research is key, and research, just not finding the research, but also reading between the lines. Like Nithari, for that matter, the case of the severed hand was in the Allahabad High Court papers. It's mentioned. How come people didn't spot it or question it? It's written in the High Court papers. So one has to read between the lines to sort of figure out the truth. But I something which I used to get scared of, which was researching. Now I love it. Like
Okay,
treasure hunting.
okay. So participants you guys can get your questions ready for Anirban, because I have one last question to ask, and then we'll get to yours. So it's a very obvious and cliched question. Your advice for the writers here, because the group is called First Draft Club, and everybody is working on their manuscript and is at some point of the journey of getting published.
Mm, mm.
So one advice that you would give to writers, everyone, irrespective of the genre or format, what is one advice that you give to writers?
Write daily. Um, you have to write daily, and it's again, there is no role for the muse and all. जब मूड होगा तब लिखेंगे. No, no. तुम you want to be a good cricketer, you have to do the nets,
Mhm.
right? So every day, fix a time for yourself. If you're a homemaker, tell the family, chill. 5 to 6 o'clock in the evening is my time, or whatever time suits you. No one disturbs me. I don't exist for you at that point of time. I exist for me. That is my time. Whatever time suits, whether it's 1 hour, whether it's 2 hours, but you fix that time and you sit at your desk. Yeah, you sit at your desk and you write. It may be, it will take time for you to warm up, and there will be days when nothing will happen. It will be, drought. No words will come out. That's fine. That's fine. So when it happens to me sometimes, when I'm sitting and I don't get the urge to write, or I'm finding it, so then I switch my energy to researching so that I get some work done. Right? So then I finish off a bit of researching, which then sort of gives me another idea. Then I come back. So what one has to sit and write every day.
And
At least,
any sort of writing, even if it's fiction, it requires research. So I
yeah,
think.
whatever you're writing. I mean, आपको लिखना ही है, आपको लेखक बनना है ना. सपने में थोड़ी ना बनोगे लेखक. लिखना पड़ेगा भैया.
So Shalini had asked a very a question that's very relevant to what we are talking about right now. Her question was, do you write daily?
Yes.
Like, do you have a daily word count you aim at? How
No,
do
no,
you
no, no, no. Don't
maintain
get
your
technical and all.
writing?
No, see, don't get technical. Word count and all. These are all bollocks. Pati Bangla, I don't even know how many. It is all bullshit. I must aim for this much of word count. No, you're not here to please somebody. You're not here to meet targets. You're here to tell a damn story. A story cannot be told in a formula, right? A story needs to be told with emotion, with feelings, right? Don't say I have to hit word count. Then you're writing shit. You might as well write gobar, 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 gobar 10,000 times. You hit, ho gaya, 10,000 word count. It can't be like that. There are days like okay, so I started writing uh, this fiction piece, and it's a whodunit. And I was on a flow. I was on a flow like how? Okay. I had finished off like, I think 20,000 words within a week or so. And then I took a damn break. I got stuck at one point, and I went back on what I only tell people to do. I said, oh yaar, ye na baad mein karta hu main. Wapas aata hu. And that's it. I lost the damn connection. वो जो ऊपर वाले के साथ कनेक्शन था फोन पे वो गया. And I've been hunting for that connection every time. Every like a month, I'll go back, I'll read the entire manuscript thinking, then I'll take off from the point I've left. हो ही नहीं रहा है. हो ही नहीं रहा है. And it's such a tragedy. So don't wait and no word count and all. Please write how much you feel. Right? पहले उल्टी करो. साफ बाद में होगा. पहले उल्टी तो करो. पेट के अंदर लेके बैठे हो, मैं नहीं करूंगा, मैं नहीं करूंगा. वैसे थोड़ी ना कर दो. जो निकलता है निकलने दो. Whatever, grammatical mistakes, spelling mistakes, plot mistakes, whatever it is, get the damn thing on paper. Then you go back. Then you start correcting. The thing is, and again, don't keep correcting what you're writing. Then you get into a rut. Then you'll correct, then you'll rewrite, then you'll correct, you will rewrite, then you're stuck within that one chapter. तुम आगे नहीं बढ़ पाओगे. लिखो. पहले निकालो, फर्स्ट ड्राफ्ट निकालो. Then there is enough time for you to come back, visit, recook, मसाला डालो, इधर करो, रेक्टिफाई करो, नमक डालो, ये सब सब हो जाएगा. बट पहले इंग्रेडिएंट्स तो लाओ. That's the key advice. You have to write daily. Yeah.
And this is from Priya again. How different is it when you write a crime show versus a crime novel?
For me, not so much. For me specifically, because you've read my books, and my books are like screenplays. You can see my writing. It's like watching a film. Somebody wrote on Instagram, I think, I just finished watching The Hills Are Burning. That's a huge compliment. So when I write, it's like a screenplay. Like when I wrote, this is India's Money Heist, which is about the biggest bank robbery of India, where 80 kgs of gold was siphoned off. So there is an interval point in the book as well. So it's very, very cinematic the way I write. So it's not that much of a difference for me.
Okay. So Vaibhav asks a slightly idealistic question. Do
Mhm.
you write or act to entertain, or do you have a social agenda in mind too?
Okay, so one becomes an artist, and again, I don't want to use artist like I'm some God's gift, but one creates, okay, one creates content or one writes things so that people can read it, right? अगर मुझे अपना ही writing खुद ही पढ़ना था तो then we do we wouldn't be out there, right? Why do we write? There is obviously not just uh, an urge to get validated by the public, but also that you want people to enjoy your book. So there's obviously a factor of that. Um, we the reader has to enjoy what you've written. You're not writing it for your own pleasure. So that's the other thing. Do not write for your own pleasure. Sometimes what happens is we write na kya likha kya likha maine. But that is that whatever you've written suddenly is just for only you understand. One has to make it accessible for the reader. So like Hills Are Burning has a social agenda to it, because in the book you will get to read for the first time what truly transpired in the hills of Kalimpong and Darjeeling during the Gorkhaland revolution. A lot of the stuff had been buried by the CPIM government and erased. So I've gotten back all the research, spoken to first person narratives and accounts, all of that. So that book has a bit of a social agenda to it.
So again, a very relevant question from.
And again, social agenda, if nobody reads it, then it's of no use. So one has to have an agenda, but make it exciting and energetic and entertaining for the reader. Sorry.
So yeah, so no, Mangesh has a relevant question to what we are talking again. When you write, do you write keeping in mind that it will be a bestseller, or do you give your 100% to all that you write, forgetting about the outcome?
It's like ना आजकल के जनरेशन के जो है ना, वो मुझे वायरल होना है. There's nothing called viral होना है. Viral, the thing is, it's an organic. If the content picks up, then you become viral. It's how does one write to be a bestseller? I mean, is there a formula? I really like to know. There's nothing called how one writes a story. One is true to the story, to the characters, to the craft, to the genre, and one writes to the best of one's abilities, always keeping the reader in mind, saying reader को मजा आना चाहिए. अगर उसके बाद किताब बिकता है कि नहीं, सी again bestseller is on sales, right? I know of some horrendous books which have become bestsellers, but are they? But who are we to judge, right? Who are we? We may say, अरे यार, this author ना क्या बकवास लिखता है यार. How does it sell so much? Don't we as an author want to sell so much as well? Of course we do, right? So how does one cannot what's the word, engineer sales? One can engineer awareness of the book, and that is another chapter. How does one market one's book, and all of that. So yeah, one doesn't write thinking, oh, bestseller hoga, bestseller. So there's no way of telling what book becomes a bestseller or not.
So then there is Karthik, who wants to know that if you have any reading or watching recommendations for writers.
Reading or watching? Oh, it depends on the genre, and I've never been technical, so I've never been technical on how to write and all of that. Maybe it's a bad thing, maybe it's a good thing, I don't know. But a friend of mine sent me this book from Bangalore, and he said, oh yeah, he enjoyed reading it. So I said, you should read it as well. So it's by Stephen King. It's called On Writing. Can you see it? Yeah. So this is a book which I'm reading currently. So it's not a technical book. It's a very conversational thing about what he does and what his writing regimen is, and all of that. So yeah, um, yes, this is a great book for fiction writing. Yeah, but I don't read because again, and I can't keep things. Yeah, अच्छा वो वाले ना ये वाला क्राफ्ट यूज करेंगे अभी ना वो करेंगे वो होता नहीं मुझसे मैं जब लिखने बैठता हूँ तो मैं लिखता हूँ कार्तिक भाट डू यू हैव एनी वो तो हो गया अभी निहारिका मिश्रा writing comedy doesn't writing comedy doesn't come natural to me. How to improve it? I think comedy is a must in writing these days, especially in commercial and voice. So yes, comedy is very essential. Um, even my true crime books have a lot of black humor in it. It gives a sort of a breathing space in that intensity of a true crime narrative. Um, write what comes naturally to you. Don't force it. Don't force it into becoming a slapstick moment. Um, think what makes you laugh, uh, whether it's a visual cue or whether it's a dialogue or an audio cue. What is it that makes you laugh? And try doing that. Yes, absolutely. It's very difficult to write, comedy. Um, but I love writing it because humor is something which I enjoy. So my true crime books also have a lot of humor. Um,
But with
uh,
humor, again, humor is very personal. So what might be humorous to one may not be humorous to another.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think
So
that's the most difficult
mm,
thing to
yeah,
write.
yeah, yeah. And of course we become so bloody judgmental, yeah. Become so judgmental with this cancel culture and political correctness and all of that. It's crazy. What is funny for you may not be funny for me, and I I'll just say, listen, ban whoever it is. Hashtag. हो गया. Finished. That's it.
Thank you so much for your time again, Anirban, and thank you everyone
Lovely,
else who's
lovely.
joined here. I hope this was fruitful for you guys as just as much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining, everybody.